So,
and for me, T-Foss, again, and I didn't bring this. Well, I think I did bring it up. I can't remember if I brought it up before we broke for the New Year's holiday. If you go through the scenarios, the SEC has had, you got LSU, Auburn, Florida, and Alabama have all won a national championship within the last 15 years.
Right.
All four of those teams have. Florida won back-to-back. Georgia played for the national championship against Alabama. So they've had four different teams win it.
Mm-hmm.
5 have played for it. And I think that this is the ultimate kind of rock the baby to bed to where, other conferences, the Big Ten and certainly the Big 12 and the Pac-12 and all ACC, all of it. ACC has had 2 different teams win the national title in Florida State, but you can go ahead and throw dirt on that coffin. That until they hire Deion Sanders, it's a wrap there. I don't know how when Deion Sanders gets the number 2 or the number 1 overall player in the nation to go to Jackson State, how does Florida State not fire their coach immediately and hire Deion Sanders immediately?
Because they don't believe in him yet. Deion Sanders is doing wonderful things at Jackson State, but a lot of athletic directors believe you can do unorthodox things at smaller schools and get away with it. But you can't do that with the big schools. So they don't believe in Deion Sanders yet.
Okay.
But maybe someday, maybe he'll bring Jackson State into Tallahassee and win a game, and maybe they'll hire him then.
But Mike Norvell is the answer, right? The guy that was a head coach at Memphis. He's the answer that's gonna swim in the waters of the ACC and beat Clemson and beat the SEC. He's the guy, huh?
Deion Sanders.
But you don't believe in Deion Sanders.
Hey, I'm just telling you. Hey, I believe in him. But Deion Sanders is still viewed as clownish in some circles. And you have to understand, you don't hire a coach just for your football program. You got to sell them to the alumni. You got to sell them to your administrators. You got to sell them to your boosters. And maybe they feel uncomfortable with Deion Sanders right now.
Yeah, absolutely. We welcome back to everybody on the YouTube chat thread. Joey 2 times said, LOL, y'all got to get that figured out. We will. We will get that figured out, but happy to have you back with us. But, again, we're talking right now, the SEC has had 5 different teams play for a national title in the last 15 years. 4 different teams win. And I'll put this back on the whole Big Ten discussion because we're kind of Big Ten-centric here. And Ohio State has proven they belong in those waters. They have. They've proven. But is Michigan State, and whoever you fancy the next best Big Ten, Penn State or Wisconsin, are they in a position right now where you can say they packed the gear to go ahead and win a national title?
Don't. Here is what I told my Spartan wife. I told her, I know you love Michigan State, and you love the fact that they, at the time, they were leading the Big Ten East. I said, you don't want them in the college football semifinals. If you love Michigan, you don't want them in that position, because what's going to happen is you're going to get beat, and you're going to get beaten badly by an SEC team. And the thing that hurts, and this is what hurts me, is the fact that now you can't expand the college football playoffs. That's what I want, but I can't make a
Thank
case
you, T-Foss.
because you're the number 2 team in the nation, and you get your ass kicked by the number 3 team in the nation. It's not even close. So how can I stand up and say we need more? We need more.
Oh, but T-Foss, it'll keep the players from opting out. So, will it?
If you work out the NIL, you can get more players not to opt out.
But what's that going to solve, though? The core problem will still be there. If it is a problem, I mean, I don't know. You guys tell me. Is it a problem the way it is right now?
Maybe if you expand the playoffs in the first round, the best game we'll get is the number 4 and number 5. So we got to wait to see who's going to be number 4 and number 5 and root. That's a close game, or maybe 3 and 6 is going to be a close game. But once you start, now we've got a situation where the top 2 teams are the only ones that can compete with each other.
Right,
it's just crazy.
I know, and again, it goes back to it. 4 different programs in the SEC have won the national title. 5 have played for it. Do you see a day where Penn State can compete for a national title? They're less than.
Yeah, they are.
They're less than. I won't hear anything other than that. Just again, go back through the resume.
Only Ohio State. And you know who I'm blaming the states of Florida and Texas for this crap. Because if you can really play in Florida or Texas, you're going to one of those southern schools. The northern schools get the second tier they're good players, but they're not those elite guys. Those elite guys are staying down there and playing for Alabama and Florida, and they used to play for Texas, and some of them went to Nebraska before they switched conferences. But then that second tier of players, which are very good players, are going to come to Michigan or Michigan State, and then the third tier will go to Western or Central or Eastern or something like that. So I blame the states of Texas and Florida because they're elite. Don't come up here.
Dave Schultz says Deion Sanders building things down there. He'll be coaching Florida State in 2023, and that's and that's where Florida State, I think, needed to go immediately. He took the kid from Florida State.
Yeah, that's true.
He took the kid from Florida State. That's for me. If I'm Florida State, I'm firing a Mike Norvell right that second, and I'm hiring Deion Sanders. I'm going to go to my donors and say, hey, you want us to make moves or no? You cool with the way things are or no?
Yeah. College football needs to divorce its way from the status quo. Take a chance on somebody. Take a chance on younger people. That's what Harbaugh did with Michigan. The whole thing was, let's get some good, solid experience, older coaches who've been there and seen that. He got rid of those guys and brought in younger talent. And guess what? They identified better with their players. They had a relationship, and those guys played better. So Florida State should do the same thing.
No, I agree. The YouTube poll, yes, we should fix our internet. Took 86% of the vote. Actually, they didn't cover the spread. I thought, but we still got it too. Do you want to hear Uncle T. Foss do an Isaiah Thomas was nearly traded story or a Super Bowl sex story? That lies in your hands. And
now, what's the tally right now?
Last I saw, it was 50-50. We'll get that. That back up and popping. But we're going to continue the Michigan discussion. There is no question about that because I have some other questions as well. But before that, let me tell you about my go-to, Gypsy Vodka. New Year's Eve, I still tipped one back. You know how I did it. Gypsy Vodka. Certainly, we know the story, right? And look, I have a bottle down here, but I think I would tell you guys a story instead. New Year's Eve, I'm in the local supermarket shopping. There's only one bottle left on the shelf. See how everything else around it was full. The cream, liqueurs, and all that stuff, they were all there. Gypsy Vodka, Terry. One bottle left on the shelf, as you can see by my picture. Until I got done, then there were no bottles of Gypsy Vodka left.
We must go to the same store then.
Yeah, there were no bottles of Gypsy Vodka left. Why? Well, there's tons of reasons. The bottom line for me is, it's good vodka. I'm simple. I'm a very simple dude, right? It tastes good. Hard stop. Now, if you want to get into all the exotics, yeah, they got a cool bottle and everything like that. Yeah, it's Michigan-made in Petoskey. Yeah, it's gluten-free. Yeah, it uses artesian spring water, corn distilled a whole bunch of times, all that. If you're into the technicals, good for you. I'm into good taste in vodka. Therefore, I drink Gypsy Vodka. And you can see by my local supermarket, a lot of other people do too. So I don't know what else to tell you guys. You want good vodka? You'll buy Gypsy. It's not overly expensive. It's just good vodka. So if that's important to you, get on the train. Gypsy Vodka. Drink it responsibly.
Okay, you thirsty little spin goblins. I want you to pedal into the next dimension. Spin it! Spin! Spin! Uh-oh! Carmen's falling behind. Let's give her the hiss of shame. Spin! Spin! Spin till you bleed!
Don't ride the bike of shame. Come to Planet Fitness and find your own lane with tons of equipment, free fitness training, and no hissing. Join today for just $10 a month.
Woodward Sports. Missed part of the show today? Watch again on YouTube or download the podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Back at it, Big D Energy, Woodward Sports Network, Neil Rule, T. Foss, Terry Foster in the house. We got Sam in the sound booth. We got Sawyer in the production booth. He's grinding in there today, folks. You know, Sawyer, he's got the Carhartt hat on because he's working hard out there.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
my guy. That's my guy. No question about it. He's doing the deed, though. Happy to have you all along with us on the YouTube chat thread. New update on the poll, the T. Foss Storytime poll. Super Bowl sex story now with a 57% to 43% lead over the Isaiah Thomas was nearly traded
Let me
story.
tell you, folks, you can't go wrong either way. But if you want a little history that you don't know about, you may want to go the Isaiah Thomas and Ralph Sampson route.
AC on our YouTube chat thread says Mel Tucker gets all the second-tier Georgia players. Miki says SEC is big business. Steve says, I love hearing that Penn State is less than. They think they're so big and mighty, but they are a Big Ten afterthought. They are. But the problem is you hear about what a big win it is to beat Penn State. Do you not hear that all the time, T. Foss?
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to shut that down.
It won't be shut down because college football, we still live in the 70s and 80s.
Why is that?
We just don't wake up. You know, we're just so reluctant to move on from there. I mean, that's why Michigan gets all this love. That's why, you know, you can make a living by betting against Michigan in the spread over the years. You make a lot of money because they are always overrated as far as point spreads are concerned because people are going to bet on Michigan no matter what.
So here's my question, T. Foss, and Mike did a good job of producing the show for us here. Mike says, does Michigan play J.J. over Cade next season? J.J. looked like he stayed focused, unlike Cade when he was playing against Georgia. Now, for me, T. Foss, and I don't know if I'm spiking the Kool-Aid for you at all, it's a lot easier to go into that game when it's 34-3 in the fourth quarter with 10 minutes to go. It just is.
Yeah, you better be careful about that. Here's what I think will happen. I think they will have a legit competition during spring ball and summer ball. And whoever the coaches feel is the best will be the starting quarterback. But don't make a decision based on what you saw against Georgia. Because I've seen a lot of crappy quarterbacks come in blowout games and look good. A couple things happen. The defenses are not as hungry. They back off a little bit. Georgia
they start pulling back because they know what's on the line for them next.
I don't want to get injured.
They'd like to opt out of the fourth quarter if they could.
Yeah, we're done. Your team is basically screaming, Uncle, I got my foot on your neck. I'm going to take it off a little bit. So be careful about what you saw JJ do late in that game. I would not allow that to determine or cloud what I want to do in the future. Cade got you there. McNamara got you there. He beat Ohio State, which you wanted to do. He didn't turn the ball over.
I mean, he did, and that's what I heard was how well he played and everything like that. That's what everybody was saying, and he did. Like, he played well, and you won a Big Ten championship with him. I don't see, and again, this isn't my decision, so I'll punt on this, obviously. But they have a big decision on how they're going to move forward. Because if you're J.J. McCarthy, and you're a 5-star, and you believe you're that dude, and you believe you're an NFL quarterback, which he does, and the tools look like they're there, certainly. The arm strength, all that stuff looks like it's there. If you're not going to be the starter, ... Again, we talk about swimming in these waters. This is also new waters that Michigan's swimming in right now because you're not going to sit behind the guy for 2 years and develop and hold the clipboard and all that kind of stuff and study the film and then walk in as a junior. No. That's not real life anymore, T-Foss.
Used to be, but now Michigan's in a tough spot. Michigan is thinking, how do we keep both of these guys? How do we put the best quarterback out there and keep these two guys? That's a tough thing to do.
Let me see. Jake Wegener put a playoff game up north in the elements. See how those SEC schools fare outdoors in December, January weather. Yamba says Big Ten schools don't play outside in December or January either. And, you know, that's just the nature of the beast, too, because you're in the business of selling tickets. You're in the business of selling experiences. And no great experience starts with, you know, an outside game in Ann Arbor in December.
Yeah, last time I checked, they don't play the Big Ten championship game at Soldier Field.
No. They don't do the Super Bowl. You know, they did it the one year in New York, but it was like 45 degrees and it was on a heated field. Like,
right.
You know, they don't do that.
They did the Super Bowl in Detroit.
In a dome.
At Ford Field and the Pontiac Silverdome.
Yes, they did. And Minneapolis.
And last time I checked, those are both, I think, enclosed fields.
Right. So, it's what it is. Cody Engel, JJ will be the new shiny toy until he struggles in a game. Then fans will look down the roster again. That's that's what it's going to be, though. But you do need to make a decision, though, Terry. I mean, I think that we're undervaluing this, how it's all going to go down for Michigan from a quarterback perspective. But you got to choose one, man. You do.
That is true. And as far as football in this town, we always think that the backup is the new shiny toy. Now, Jared Goff was the guy that we wanted to replace. Now we saw his replacement and like, hey, Jared, you got to get that knee together. You need your back for Green Bay. And be careful. If you're a Michigan fan, be very careful. Are you going to go by what you saw during the regular season where a guy got you a Big Ten title and a victory over Ohio State? Or are you going to go by what you saw in the second half of a game against Georgia, which was out of hand and where Georgia had called the dogs off? Kirby Smart, you could just tell in the second half, he's like, guys, we got this. Chill out. Let's go home.
Let's worry about Alabama.
Stop
with the stupid Gatorade baths and all that stuff. Right. We're not doing that here.
Yeah, he said, no, we're not clowning now. They were thinking Alabama in the second half because they'd already disposed of Michigan.
Yeah. Got one from Dan here. It says, when you boil it down, Michigan was 1-2 this season against teams with a pulse. They beat Ohio State at home. They lost to Michigan State on the road, and then they lost to Georgia on a neutral field. What's your take on that one, T-Foss?
He's saying they had basically a 3-game schedule.
Right.
So, yes, I agree with that. But, Michigan can't be faulted because the Big Ten is not good. Iowa is not good. Purdue is not good, even though they beat Michigan State. Illinois is not good. I mean, you go up and down the conference, and they're just not good. But, in the SEC, it's the same thing. Kentucky, Tennessee, Vanderbilt. Are you scared of them?
Kentucky beat Iowa in a bowl game.
I just said Iowa's not good. So.
Arkansas beat Penn State, held them to 10 points. Purdue beat Tennessee. It's just those teams are comparable.
Right.
Those teams are comparable. But once you get up into the big boy land, and again, going back, 4 different SEC teams have won the national championship in the last 15 years. 4 different ones.
Now, Neil, I don't want to ruin your college football, but one day you're going to have conferences where Purdue, Illinois, Iowa, and all those teams are going to be in their own little league with Vanderbilt and Kentucky and Tennessee and everything. And then you're going to have a super conference one day, or 2 super conferences one day.
Yeah.
Because we're greedy.
Cody says, this year the Big Ten wasn't good enough to be in a title game. I know. Hey, what are you going to say?
Hey, brother, I will tell you this. Every year, the Big Ten is not good enough to be in the title game unless Ohio State is that team.
No, I can see it, and I do have kind of one question where I'm gonna land the plane a little bit here on the show. Where we're gonna mix this into the Lions discussion coming up, and I think you guys are smart enough to know. You'll figure out where I'm gonna go with this. Tony Pasta says the SEC is dominant, and now they're boring to watch. So it's. Hey, guys, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, the talent, I think for me it just boils down to the talent. It does, because you saw the pictures Sawyer put up there, the pictures of Georgia. We saw them come out for the coin flip. Just cats were built different, man. They were just built different. And that's, for me, give me talent every time, T. Every time, give me talent.
Now, I think he's saying that the SEC is boring when they play other teams. I think Georgia and Alabama is going to be a very exciting game. We're going to see high level stuff. We're going to see things done a little quicker than they are up in the Midwest. Be a little more. I don't know if they're more physical. They're just more talented and faster
And by the way, too, before we talk about that football game, just remember for Alabama, Bryce Young and Will Anderson. Bryce Young, the best player in college football by virtue of his Heisman, certainly the best quarterback in college football, will be back. Will Anderson, the best defensive player, arguably, in college football, got the most Heisman winning votes outside of Bryce Young. He will be back, too, because they're both not eligible for the draft. So think about that for a minute. It ain't changing anytime soon, T.
No, and then then there's some studs from Texas and Florida who will be filtering in, and then these other guys will graduate, and then we'll say, okay, Will Anderson is gone, Bryce Young is gone, and then all of a sudden it's like, damn, this other dude might be better. What happened?
Yeah, absolutely. Rich says Georgia has 18 five-star recruits on their roster, more than any other team and more than some conferences. That says it all right there. And look, I know that recruiting systems are manipulated for clicks. Like, let's not be blind to that fact. I get that, but you see it out there, man. You see it out there, and we saw it out there on the field. I got one more question. I'll weave this in to the Lions discussion, too. We will discuss the Lions in Seattle. We'll spin you around the NFL as well. All of that when we come back with more Big D Energy right here on the Woodward Sports Network.
Hi, I'm Kay Cunningham. I'm proud to partner with Hall Financial, the mortgage company known for 5-star service. Don't just take my word for it. Check out their 5,000 5-star reviews for yourself. Go to callhallfirst.com and get started with your 5-star experience today.
Make sure you download the Woodward Sports app in the App Store and the Google Play Store today. Take Woodward Sports with you wherever you go and listen live on your phone or mobile device.
What's the over-under? Should I tease? Who is the lock of the night? Make sure you're watching Woodward Bets to get the latest in sports betting and more. Woodward Bets daily on Woodward Sports.
Pulling up all in the second hour of the show. Big D Energy, Woodward Sports Network. Neil Rule, Terry Foster in the house with you. We also have Sam in the sound booth. Sawyer in the production booth. He's grinding, y'all. He's grinding up in there, but he's getting the job done. Let's see. What do we got? A story time update. Isaiah Thomas story closing the gap right now. Super Bowl sex story at 52%. Isaiah Thomas story at 48%.
Well, this is boiling down to a Florida election, where every election is 51-49.
We got to get Sawyer up here on the screen, breaking it down county by county. You know, like like CNN. They are, man. Yeah. I remember the one time they zeroed in on just above my neighborhood in Macomb County. I was like, wow, dude, this is awesome. Incredible.
When they got the guy breaking down the board, he's like, let's click here. And
he's wearing khakis and his shirt is bustling and all that kind of stuff. Why don't you give Sam some love? Maybe Sam wants to do it.
So I think one of the reasons that people want to hear that story is because what if Isaiah Thomas and Ralph Sampson did get traded for each other? Isaiah Thomas is the best player in Detroit Pistons history. Ralph Sampson was injured and his career was over after 5 years.
All right,
Sam is a historian, man.
Yeah, I know. And here's the other little secret. Ralph Sampson was a terrible player. He was bad at Virginia. The dude was 7'4". He was a gazelle. He was soft, and
he made that game-winning shot though against the Lakers in the NCAA or the NBA Finals that one year. They caught it and laid it in.
Everybody else set him up.
He got a ton of mileage off that.
Yeah, but he still couldn't play. In fact, he was a borderline scrub.
Yeah. Tony Pasta says Michigan still has the best uniform in college football. Nothing like it. So there you have it. No, but I did want to wrap this around here, and we'll get into the Lions discussion, who lost but really won. And I talked about David Ojabo, and I celebrated him, and everyone celebrated Aidan Hutchinson. And I'll ask this, T. Foss, and I'm asking it, I guess, for a little bit of effect, but the more I think about it, did Aidan Hutchinson hurt his draft stock in that game?
No.
You don't think so?
He hurt it.
Why?
He hurt it in the eyes of sports fans.
Okay.
But I think what the Lions or whoever's going to get that number 2 pick, looks like the Detroit Lions, are going to look at that game and what opportunities did he really have to affect that game? First of all, what the Lions want him to do is rush the passer. That's going to be his primary job. Now, Georgia was rarely in a must-pass situation. I mean, it was 2nd and 1, 2nd and 2, so they could have passed, they could run, they could do whatever they want to do because they were running the ball so effectively. Now, I want to go back to a game Michigan played Ohio State. Chase Young was the rush-in for Ohio State. And what Michigan did is they chipped him, they double-teamed him, they did everything to make sure that he would not hurt them. Well, guess what? He was a non-factor in the game. And here's what I heard. Chase Young is overrated. Chase Young, if Michigan can handle him, the NFL is going to take care of him. Well, last time I checked, Chase Young is still a damn good player in the NFL. So you can, defensively, you can run away from guys. You can negate guys in college, and I think that's what happened with Hutchinson. Be careful once again about making a determination. I don't want to hear if the Lions draft him. Oh, look at the Lions. Here they go again, getting a guy that's no good. No, you don't know that. But you should base your decisions on him, what you saw during the regular season, what you saw against Ohio State, who had very good offensive linemen against everybody else. But at this point of the season, Georgia is so talented, they could go away from Chase Young. They don't have obvious passing situations because they run the ball so effectively against other people that Hutchinson, you can make him a non-factor in the collegiate ranks, but the main job for him with the Lions, rush that quarterback, make his life uncomfortable. He can do that in the NFL because they're not going to have special game plans for him if he's a Detroit Lion. So I would say he's only hurt himself in the eyes of sports fans, but not in the eyes of the NFL.
Okay, and that's interesting because I wondered that about him. I wondered that about Ojabo. Certainly what we saw with Matt Corral, too, getting hurt. We'll see how that all shakes out, where just everybody that was being so negative about dudes opting out of the bowl games, there was nothing Hutchinson could do. And I get it. Like, you're playing for a national title. I know everybody just calm yourselves down. I part of me wondered that, though. If he sits out the game, is the draft stock higher? Now, we'll find out draft day. We'll see how that all shakes out. Maybe the moment is too new right now. But with all that being said, Machiavelli Sucks to Go said this. And look, I respect Machiavelli Sucks to Go. He's a loyal listener, loyal watcher. I do appreciate him. But he said, it would be interesting to see the team GPA for each team in a bowl game. Why? Why would they? Who cares? They're eligible to play. Who cares about that? Let's pretend for a minute that we're in the real world. They're eligible to play. The NCAA makes those rules. However they're eligible, they're eligible. Who? T-Foss?
That's a snoot. That's a snoot, man. He's got his nose so sucked far up in the air. Let me ask these. For sports fans, a coach has never been fired because the team GPA was too low.
Absolutely.
The coach has been fired when the GPA level is too low and he finishes 5-7. That'll happen. But you mean to tell me if, let's say we find out that Georgia, they have an accumulative 2.0 GPA, Kirby Smart's going to get fired?
No.
That if Michigan has a 3.5 GPA, they're going to reverse the outcome of the game and say, Michigan has a higher GPA, so we're going to let them win. No, that's not going to happen. Nobody cares. And I tell you what, I had several conversations with Jimmy King, who played for the Fab Five of Michigan, and he said the very first thing Steve Fisher told them when they gathered, he says, when I was recruiting, I told you that you're student athletes. He said, no, you're athlete students. I care about what you do more on the basketball court than what you do in the classroom. You are an athlete student. So he broke it down. First meeting, that's what he told him. You're an athlete student.
I did always love Steve Fisher, man. Mm-hmm. Keeping it real with him.
He was a player's coach.
Yeah, absolutely. Meek says, we didn't come here to play school. I mean, but they're not, T-Foss. Like, they have to be eligible. Well, they got to get a 2.0, I think, to stay eligible.
That's right.
That's it. Like, that's the NCAA rules. And that's the other thing, too. That's all handled by the NCAA, not the school. The school doesn't make the standards or anything like that. That's an NCAA standard. And don't act like there's not a lot of kinetic studies or what's the
kinesiology.
Kinesiology. Don't act like there's not a lot of kinesiology majors on both sides. Yeah. I mean, that's what it is. That bothers me, man, when I hear that. Let's check the GPAs.
Because Michigan people are elitists and they're snoots. Learn that.
Jay Reese says Detroit will be making a mistake. Hutch is no Bosa or Watt brothers caliber player. And now it's time. Now that Michigan's done, and we're going to have a lot of time to do all this too through the NFL draft. You know, we'll get Sam's fingers loose in there because we're going to talk Lions coming up in just a couple of minutes. But now it's time. Like, that stuff's over. So now it is time to say, right now, T-Foss, as we sit with the Michigan season over, if you're the Detroit Lions at 2. Say Jacksonville does go the offensive line route, and you have your choice. You taking Hutchinson at 2 right now?
I'm still taking Hutchinson.
Over Thibodeau.
I think the general consensus outside of Michigan is Thibodeau's always been the number 1 player over Hutchinson. But here we fell in love with him so much that, hometown boy, we want Hutch. But that sentiment is not the same with the NFL scouts.
Right.
And people out there. I want him because I think both of them are going to be good. To me, Thibodeau, man, is always injured, at least when I see him.
Well, Hutchinson broke his leg. Hutchinson missed a good portion of action last year, too. He was hurt, too. Like,
I didn't see him hurt this
people
year.
Forget about that, No, and you're right. You're not wrong. But, like, it's not like it's not there, too. You know what I'm saying?
All right,
I'm just playing devil's advocate here,
He got
Tony.
injured once. Thibodeau gets injured every game.
Oh, man. AC says, give me Neal, safest pick. Hey, I'm going to perform. I'm just going to go out there and try to help the ball club, T-Foss.
I know you will.
That's all I'm going to do, man. I'm just going to go out there and try to help the ball club. No, but we're gonna land the plane here and get to the Lions Seahawks game. We're definitely going to spin it around the NFL because I have a couple of critical questions. One for our resident Colts fan in the room, Sawyer. He's in the booth. He's going to have to rise up to the challenge here and answer the critics because that's a bad loss, man. Yeah. That's a bad loss, Sawyer, and you know it.
Oh, it hurt deep down.
Is there a guy? Well, we'll save it from when we go around the NFL because I got a question for you, my friend, and you have to pick a side. I've been asking people to pick sides all day. So Ryan Siegler says we don't need Neal. Neal's an offensive line, not a defensive. No. I'm defensive side of the ball all day, Terry. A game wrecker.
Yes.
Game wrecker. I'm coming off the corner. Game wrecker.
I'm going by years of talking to NFL people and asking them, what do the Lions need? What mistakes are the Lions making? And they've always said this. The Lions should focus on disrupting the offenses of Green Bay, Minnesota, and Chicago. Period. That means you need to be aggressive. You need rush linemen. You need safeties who are very aggressive. Forget about who's playing cornerback. Because cornerback, now because of the rules, the cornerback can't be as aggressive as they used to be able to. A defensive lineman, the only thing they have to worry about is do not rough the passer. But they can come after a passer as hard as they want as long as they don't hit them late. So what you need to do, make Aaron Rodgers uncomfortable. Make Kirk Cousins uncomfortable. Make Justin Fields uncomfortable. If you do that and then surround the rest of the team with your receivers and quarterbacks, you're going to be good. It's the thing that the Lions have never done. For instance, let me go back in the day. Pat Swilling. They traded Pat Swilling, Willie Roach. Then, they got their rusher. They got their
best
guy.
pass rusher
Right.
in the NFL. Pass rusher.
And what do?
Have him covering backs out of the flat. Insane.
Not only that, but you pissed him off. Pat Swilling didn't want to be here.
He told you that, didn't he?
Yes.
He also would have said, give me the Super Bowl story that revolves around sex. I know
he would say, give Pat Swilling the Super Bowl because he talked in the third person all the time.
Yep.
It used to drive me crazy.
Oh man, God, the Pat Swilling thing. I thought that once they made that trade, I thought it was on.
Yeah.
Until it wasn't.
I did too, and then I'm like, damn, dude's not even rushing the passer. What's he doing?
I know. But
he's in coverage.
But if he were thinking about a career change at the time, maybe he says, hey, I don't want to cover these running backs in the flat anymore. They won't let me go get the pass rusher. What else should I do with my life? Well, here's a suggestion. Go into a field that's always essential at Northwestern Tech, the HVAC school that works, heating and cooling, folks. It's never going anywhere. It's not. So if you want a career that's going to set you up for a lifetime of success, take the first step. Go to northwesterntech.edu today. If you're not happy with what you're doing right now, you're kind of just showing up to work every day, and you're like, man, I don't know if there's a future here. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. I don't like the way that life is going right now. northwesterntech.edu. I'll put it this way, guys. When the furnace goes out in January, I would pay any price to get the furnace working. I would. I mean, that's just the way that it goes. So think about that. If you're looking for career change, go to northwesterntech.edu. Take the first step. Go to the HVAC school that works.
Fellas, football season is here. It's time to make your grooming experience easy like Sunday morning. Get to Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. Walk in, relax, watch your favorite team play, and before you know it, your hair will be game ready. Get to Lady Jane's, open 10 to 8, 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Make sure you download the Woodward Sports app in the App Store and the Google Play Store today. Take Woodward Sports with you wherever you go and listen live on your phone or mobile device.
No off season for us. We're talking sports. 365. Detroit Sports Network. Woodward Sports.
Neil Rule, Terry Foster back with you. Sam in the audio booth. He's going to be the most critical person on this show coming up in about 20 seconds or so. Sawyer, who has been the most critical guy on the show, for those of you watching on the YouTube chat thread, but he did get the job done. Happy to have you all along for the ride. So, we put it off as long as we could, but we do have to talk about the Lions. They lost, but they really won, Sam.
Feeling pressure over there, Sammy?
There it was. You heard it. The Detroit Lions did the job. Now, they saw what the Jacksonville Jaguars did.
They clinched.
They saw, they saw what the Jaguars did. They saw the Jaguars come out and give up a 50 spot to New England. And the Lions said, you know what? We are undeterred. We'll come out. We'll give up a 51 burger to Seattle, who also kneeled down on what could have been another touchdown at the end of the game.
The Lions said, in case the tiebreaker was most points given up, we're going to make sure we got that covered too.
Well, see, that's the thing too. Is for Jacksonville, the tiebreaker is strength of schedule, but in reverse. So whoever plays the easiest schedule gets the number one pick. But it's not going to come down to that. The Lions have locked in the number 2 pick. They did it, Terry. My whole season of campaigning, my whole season of politicizing, my whole season of desiring at least a top 2 draft pick.
And you know what you can do this weekend?
I can root for the Lions.
You can relax.
I can. I mean,
if the Lions win, Neil, you're still good.
Absolutely. Now, I mean, and we'll get to this in Around the NFL. And yes, somebody asked in the YouTube chat thread, yes, we will talk about Antonio Brown because I want to get Terry Foster's thoughts on that. We have an action-packed second hour. I could be greedy, T-Foss, and say, well, we got to lay down just in case the Jaguars beat the Colts. And I think even Sawyer, who's the most ardent Colts fan, would agree that's not possible.
Yeah,
right,
I mean,
Sawyer?
let's pray.
Is it possible?
You don't know what kind of Carson Wentz you're going to get until the game starts, but I mean, I think it's possible.
Well, we're going to discuss that later on in the show.
Poor thing.
I am fatigued of Carson Wentz in the discussion on all the shows. He's the best quarterback in the NFL. He's awful. He's the best quarterback again. He's awful. I mean, that guy
kind of sounds like somebody who played in Detroit.
Well, dude, he's like oil prices last April, man. I mean, like it was the bottom falls out, then he rises up, then it's back down. It's crazy, but I do want to discuss it. But the Lions, T-Foss, They lost, but to me, the Lions really won, Terry. We made it. We're here. And I wanted number 1, obviously, but I'm realistic. I'll take number 2.
Because even at number 2, you're going to get number 1 because teams have different needs. The other thing that is interesting now is that the Lions are a 2-point favorite against Green Bay. I told you have to watch for that Green Bay game because the Lions could very well win it. Is Aaron Rodgers even going to show up? He may opt out. Some other players may say, we're good. The rest is for the playoffs. So it's a game that the Lions could actually win. But history of the Lions, these are games they never win.
Guys get $40 million contracts off these games in the past, i.e.
absolutely.
Matt Flynn.
Backup quarterbacks, backup running backs, backup everything. I'm like, damn, this is, this guy is really good. But we don't notice that until they play the Lions.
John Gates says the Lions better not pick Hutchinson, and I'm a Michigan fan. So there is that kind of growing sentiment out there. And everyone's giving their draft suggestions and everything. And T-Foss, I'll tell you what, man. The Michigan game got a lot of comments, a lot of interaction, all that kind of stuff. And by the way, Woodward Sports as a whole, over 21 million YouTube views last year. So thank you guys for that as well. I did want to bring that up, and I nearly forgot. But as we've said before, and you guys have echoed these sentiments, there's a new sports talk player in town. Hint, hint. Hint, hint. That was money. That was money right there. I'm just telling you guys, I go off silly things like analytics and facts. You guys can say what you want, but I go off of analytics and facts. And you know what I got to get? The Ric Flair, when he came to the WWE and was talking to Hulk Hogan on the funeral parlor. And he's like, and I'm here on your doorstep. I got to get that one, man, because that classic. And there's no doubt. But it is amazing to me, the interaction that you guys, when we talk Lions, T-Foss, and you know this, you've done everything there is to do in this business in this town. When you talk Lions, win, lose, tie, indifferent, and you guys just proved it, it explodes, Terry. It explodes.
Here's how I knew you had to talk about the Lions. Whenever I had a show, and like on a Monday, we would get all these texts and all these phone calls. Don't talk Lions today. Don't talk Lions today. That's exactly what you talk about because you're already bringing them up. It means you do want to hear what's going on with the Lions. Lions are the number 1 team in this city. Now, I used to do radio with a guy, Art, who said he was Lions free. As a journalist, I would never be Lions free because as a journalist, all you have to do is write Detroit Lions and people are looking at it. People care. There's a passion for this team. The thing that I don't understand is why do people still believe in this team? And I understand, yes, it's the hometown team and everything, but no matter what they do, there is a large segment of people here. Yeah, there's my Lions. They did another good move. They rarely do make good moves. But every time they make a move, you believe this is the one. Next year is going to be different. And my issue with people is they say this every year, and then next year when it doesn't happen, they get so pissed off. Like, damn it, they let me down again. No, you allowed yourself to be let down again because you're so gullible. They are what they are.
No, they are, and even through this, guys, and I've pulled out kind of the bright spots as I've gone along. Even as a guy that was rooting for them to lose, that was business. I turned the emotion off. I took my stance that I took for business reasons. And the Lions have a viable commodity, a much more viable commodity at 2 than they would at 5 or they would at 7 with a couple of meaningless wins. Because let's boil it all down, guys. And I've said this in week 1. I said this in week 8. I say this, here as we sit, 16 of 34 in. And I'll explain the whole 34 thing. I've touched on it, but I've never directly commented on it. And now that the job is done, where at least a number 2 pick is locked in, Terry, I can kind of outlie my thinking behind the whole thing, where I just shut the emotion off. I don't care. And I do think that you saw the Lions back break a little bit in that game, where I think the losing, the season took a toll, and they came out and they didn't have it, and they just didn't have it.
You know what I thought? I didn't think I was watching a Lions game. I thought I was watching a replay of Michigan-Georgia.
Oh, man. Well, with the exception of Amon-Ra St. Brown, who has been a revelation. Is he this good, guys? Like, that's my question. Is he this good? Like, is he weapon good? And I hesitate to say that because you saw he was impactful, Terry. And he was a guy, if you're the Seahawks, there's no other guy out there on the field that's doing anything. And you know that going in.
True,
other than this
but
guy.
once again, I will caution you to be careful.
I'm not saying fit the gold jacket
what
yet.
Was when he started showing out, Seattle was way ahead. And no matter what NFL players tell you, they relax it during games. They're like, okay, we're so far ahead, we don't have to pay attention to detail. I know what coach told me, but screw that. We just want to get through this game. And I think that's when he started to show out a little bit. But is he this good? No. Is he a number 2 good? Yes. You would never make him your number 1 guy if you have a competitive team.
But with all that being said, though, T-Foss, and you know where it lies with me, just when you look at draft, and I said I took Aleem McNeil, Onwuzurike, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sewell, all those guys, Derek Barnes, all of them, and kind of set them off to the side, and those were the guys that I focused on. Through all this, and for a guy that rooted for them to lose, I like the returns of Brad Holmes' first draft. I'm encouraged by it. The fact that they all play, the fact that they're all in the box score, the fact that it looks like they have an impact player out of the 4th round, which has never happened, at least in the course of the last decade. You know, Sammy Lee Hill. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they couldn't even get the 2nd round right.
Right. So, you know, that excites me, T-Foss. And I'll bring this all together. I'll tie this all together as we look right here of D-Mac's Lions clock. And we're almost, next week, Green Bay. The game truly doesn't matter at all. I mean, it'd be nice if they lost and Jacksonville beat the Colts, which I guess isn't out of the realm of possibility, depending on which Carson Wentz shows up. But through all that, for me, it's where this is the year you get the draft pick, because this offensive line, without Frank Ragnow, without Taylor Decker for half the season, Sewell's rookie year, there's no way that the offensive line isn't a strength of this team. And it was a strength of this team this year without Ragnow and those guys. And why, Terry? Because they ran the football.
Right.
They ran the football time after time after time.
But now, this year, you can get some toys.
Now you can get some talent.
Right.
It's more talent.
But toys, I'm talking about specialty guys, wide receivers, if you want. But first of all, priority 1 is getting somebody to disrupt the other people's offense. So
right.
You bring in Thibodeau, you bring in Hutchinson, or whoever you feel is the best rush lineman.
Because you have that number 2 pick.
Right. And then that number 2 pick, you can decide on the wide receiver, you can decide on the quarterback, you can decide on what toys do I want.
Absolutely. And you can fulfill your roster with 3 of the first 34 picks in the draft. You can fulfill your roster. You do have the evidence or the availability to, quote-unquote, trade down. I know that there's not, and I saw people talking about the YouTube chat thread, there's no, talent that everyone's screaming to move up for. But if there's somebody you like, and you're sitting there at 15, and you want to give up a 2nd rounder to get them, you have that ability where, the Lions, could I entice you with 4 of the first 48 picks, Terry? Of course I could.
Right. Or you can do the Bill Belichick approach. He would definitely trade out from that last 1st round pick and pick up 2 or 3 more guys.
Yeah, 3rd rounders or whatever. He
right.
lowered the market price. And I'm going to, when we come back from the break, I definitely want to, I want to expand on that. Just, again, where I'm at with it, and I'll lay out kind of my whole grand plan, because I think the Lions have landed the plane. They've locked up at least the number 2 overall pick. So I'll give you the other half of that before I tell you this. And I told you earlier that I'm very simple. And I don't know why that is. Probably because I'm lazy. But let me tell you this. If you're simple, and you like simple like I do, then Lady Jane's is a place for you. I do that twice a month. I walk over, I sign in, I sit down, they cut my hair. Like that, it's as easy as it gets, folks. It's as easy as it gets. Before you know it, I'm handsome and clean anyway, I think is the way. Lady Jane's open 10 to 8, 7 days a week. They're on your schedule, guys. Walk into Lady Jane's. Sign in. Sit down. Haircut done. Get on with your day. Watch the football game. Watch the bowl game on the TV the other day while I was getting my hair cut. It was incredible. It was fun. Again, much like the Gypsy vodka thing, guys, where I just like the vodka, I just like the haircut, I just like the experience. It is that easy, folks. Trust me, it is that easy. Lady Jane's, it's wicked awesome.
I'm looking to bring on another HVAC tech right now.
We're recruiting 5 to 10 techs a month.
We're looking to grow and expand.
Every new tech we hire is from Northwestern Tech. The hands-on training is fantastic.
They're always my first call.
We love hiring Northwestern Tech grads.
They come out trained and ready to work.
Our program is only 10 and a half months, and our next classes are starting soon. So why wait?
I'm looking to hire
Hire a graduate of Northwestern Tech.
Northwestern Tech.
Northwestern Tech.
Northwestern Tech.
We love our sports. We just wish they'd love us back. Detroit sports for Detroit sports fans. Woodward Sports.
Coming down the stretch, Big D Energy, Woodward Sports Network. Neil Rule, Terry Foster in the house. Sam and Sawyer as well. And Rack says, as evidence of Neil's statement, I'm in California for work and still tuning in 3 hours earlier. But I talked about it earlier. Last year, Woodward Sports, over 21 million YouTube views. We're here and we're on your doorstep, everybody. I mean, let that sink into all the sports media entities around there.
And if you didn't have me around, you probably would have got 25 million views.
Well, I don't think that would have been the case. And the Isaiah Thomas story has overtaken the Super Bowl sex Terry Foster story. Terry Foster is going to do story time coming up at about 12:50. He's going to ride us off into the show with the Super Bowl story time. And the voting's on our YouTube chat thread right now. Do you want the Isaiah Thomas was nearly traded story or the Super Bowl sex story? You guys are surprising me, right? I think you're just being contrarians. I honestly think that in my heart.
I think people love history. And you're being the contrarian. You're being bad.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No.
You know, you surprised me. I always thought Neil Rule, just a nice little guy. You remind me of John F. Kennedy a little bit. Just a clean-cut looking guy. Looks like you could slap him on the neck and get a little bourbon out of him. Or
yeah,
I fit
that.
Good little guy. But you're bad sometimes. How about this? You're mischievous.
Mischievous? Well, T-Foss, I want the show to do well, and I want to give the people what they want. And I believe the old adage is sex sells, T-Foss.
You don't think people know what they want?
Or what they admit they want?
Right. It could be different, but I'm just saying.
That's all I was looking for, Terry. We agree to disagree.
Both stories are pretty good. You'll enjoy either one. That's all I'll say.
Coming up in about 20 minutes or so, depending on your votes. But I am going to land the plane here with what I was talking about with the Detroit Lions. This is the year where the draft capital has been locked in. We have it guaranteed number 2. That's great. The reason the Lions clock, we're at 16 of 34, soon to be 17 of 34. And guys, I told you we'd make it because you see, after next Sunday, we're halfway home. That's how quick it went, everybody. We're going to be halfway home. This year was the draft capital year. Next year, Terry, becomes the salary cap year. Because now we can cut loose of a Trey Flowers. Now, if you don't like a Jared Goff situation, you can pay the $10 million and be done with him. Trey Flowers becomes more manageable. I think $7 or $8 million is the number you can buy him out. Jeff Okuda is another one. You can buy him out for $6 million. You see how I'm working here, T-Foss?
I hear you.
Because you're not going to be picking this high again next year. The offensive line's too good. It is. It's too good, the offensive line, to be picking this low. It's hard. As you guys have seen this season, as bad as the Lions were, they're still not going to get number 1.
Well,
it's hard to pick this high.
It is. Next year, they're 8 or 9.
Sure, whatever.
That would be good.
And then next year, you go to work on your salary cap. And guys, I hate to break your heart here, and I know everybody loves it because we're a fantasy football nation. You're basically going to be sitting out free agency, T. You are, if you're the Lions. Because of this whole situation with the guy, you need to save up that money to be able to cut guys. You do.
Yeah, but Lions are going to be sitting out free agency anyway. Because, one, Detroit and the Lions are not a free agent destination. And I don't hear, well, but guys like playing for Dan Campbell. That's not going to bring free agents here. I think most of the league still looks at this as an abysmal organization. And if you're a high price free agent, or if you really got talent, you're not coming here. Now, what they need to do is focus on that second tier free agent, that guy that's maybe on his last leg. This probably has a little bit talent left, but it's not the guy that you really want. But you have to fit him in and hope that he buys into the program. That's the free agents you'll bring in here.
Yeah, and to get in those waters, you'll have to massively overpay, and I'm not there yet. I don't think this roster's there yet. Most importantly, I don't think Brad Holmes in this front office is there, and they're never going to be there, I don't think. So, I'm happy with that. What I like Amon-Ra St. Brown at $900,000 a year for the next 3 years, because that's what it is.
It's a good bargain.
That's what that is. That's what I'm talking about with the draft thing. And you guys are talking right now in the YouTube chat thread where, Joey 2 times says, I'm laughing. Nobody's going to surrender multiple first-round picks to draft a safety. Get real. And I would imagine people have been having that discussion of what do you do with that pick. But someone will give you a second-rounder. Whatever that market is. I don't have the draft book out there as far as what the true value of a pick is. And I don't care what the true value of a pick is because I trust the guy making the picks. For the first time since 1990, I trust the guy making the picks. 1988, I trust the guy making the picks. That's where I am,
I
Terry.
didn't even trust the guy then, but if you did,
but the track, I mean, the Spielmans, the Jerry Balls,
sure,
Mike Kofers, all those guys. I mean, that's solid, Terry.
You're solid
Ray
players.
Crockett's, Benny Blades, and that's why they won. All those names I gave you were names of the guys that were on the team when they won.
They won when they had the 5th place schedule. They did not win when they had the 1st place schedule.
Fair. But they won with the guys they drafted.
They lost more than they won.
I understand that, Terry. I
Right.
know.
I'm just saying.
I lived through it. Hey,
Don't get too excited.
I go back to Eddie Murphy and Delirious. If you're starving and someone throws you a cracker, it's going to be the best cracker you ever ate.
True that. True that.
Damn, is that a Ritz?
Man.
No, but that's the way you're going to be. So I mean, that's where, for me, you guys, we got to stick to the plan here. The 34 plan. We got to stick to it because, for me, that's where I am with it. This year's the draft. Next year's the salary cap space, and then away we go. You got the one on the books now. Amon-Ra St. Brown, $900,000 a year for the next 3 years. So check. There's one. There's one.
And he can be your number 2 receiver.
And he can be your number 2
important.
receiver at a huge discount to market.
Right.
What's a number 2 receiver? What's a Marvin Jones making these days? I mean, it's an $8 million proposition.
A lot of money.
Yeah, $8 to $9 million proposition. You're getting that for 10 cents on the dollar, T-Foss. So, hopefully, and I'm not saying you have to do it, but I'm not saying you don't have to do it this year. The quarterback situation, if there's somebody they like, they have the ammo to go get them. If they don't like, they'll pass, and I'm cool with it either way.
And the bottom line is when they become good and we can see a pathway to a championship instead of a pathway to a number 1 pick, Jared Goff is not going to be your quarterback. A, he's not that good. B, makes too much money. C, you got to get that discounted quarterback to lead you to this promised land.
Right, and people are talking about Okudah. We don't know what we have with Okudah. Well, we saw the early returns and parlay that with an Achilles injury. And look, I'm sorry. I hate to be, dismissive like that, but cold world. I mean, the trend isn't looking good.
You know what you got with Okudah? A bust. That's basically what you've got. And he'll be making too much money pretty soon, and you won't want to keep him for that salary. It was a mistake. And the other thing about the NFL is this is why you don't use a top 3 pick on a corner unless he's Deion Sanders or somebody like that, is the league is set up now with the rules and everything. You really don't have many shutdown corners because they won't allow you to be that.
Right.
And Okudah, to me, might be so mentally out of it because he's been beaten up in this town so much because of his bad play. He may never recover. This is a guy that may have to go elsewhere to show that he's a decent player.
And next year, just for effect, to everybody saying you don't know what you have and stuff like that, and right or wrong, this is how I'm going to view it. He'll be, in terms of cap hit, he's the 5th highest paid player on the roster next year.
Oh, wow.
That's what it is, guys. And again, difficult world because do you view him as the fifth highest paid, worthy of being the fifth highest paid player on this team, taking up the fifth most cap space?
Fifth lowest, I can see that.
Right. But see, he's going to be over 4% of your salary cap, Jeff Okudah.
Right. But you know what they're going to I can guarantee you in training camp, Jeff Okudah's having a great training camp. This is the best we've ever seen him. He's going to do something for the team this year. I guarantee you that's going to be the narrative.
Which is fine, and I get that. And I'm not saying that you're going to cut him right now or anything like that. But, if you cut him, you're going to have to pay. If you do it this year, $11 million in dead cap. The following year, $6 million in dead cap. So yeah, Terry, you're going to try to squeeze going to try to squeeze a lemon and get a little more juice out of it because you're stuck with it. Like, that's just the way it is. And I'm not saying I'm not rooting for the guy. I am rooting for the guy. However, as a good friend of mine likes to say, I don't see it. Like, help me see it. I don't.
It's not help me, it's help me.
Yeah, help me.
Help me.
No, but I mean that's where it is. And these are the decisions, guys, that are going to have to be made. And we're halfway home. Remember that. We got to put up with this for another year. We just do. And I used to be like everybody else. I fought that with every fiber of my being and go out in the free agency. You have to bottom out. Not only from a talent perspective on the roster, but you have to bottom out financially, Terry. You do. That's the way of the land right now in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. But the Lions always tried to piecemeal something.
Right, absolutely.
Because of their arrogance, they always thought they were there, and they weren't. So, yeah, I think this new regime has a new thinking, and they understand that to be good, you got to be bad. And they are admitting we are bad. The Lions would never admit that they were bad. I mean, I would go out there to Allen Park or Pontiac, wherever they were, and I would just leave and say, man, these dudes think they got something going on here.
Right. And
they suck, but damn.
And Brad Holmes, and that's where, like, they can't come out and tell you this. And Dan Campbell knows, I think deep down, and Brad Holmes knows deep down. They can't come out and say this, but they know. They know this is a 2-year thing. This is my best guess. I don't have any inside knowledge of this, but I suspect that they are coming in with a clue as to how this works financially for the first time.
Right.
For the first time, Terry. At least there's evidence that they're thinking that way. At least there's evidence.
And the fact that Brad Holmes went with Penei Sewell, and he went with 2 defensive tackles, building inside out, shows that he's going to be he feels he's going to be given the time to fix this the right way.
Yeah, and somebody brought up the fact that Okudah's on his rookie deal. Yes, that is true. But when you're the number 3 overall pick, your rookie deal is big. It's like 4 years, $33 million big. So, again, that's where we come back. And that's one thing the Lions always had done to some degree was hit on those early picks, like the Sues and the Calvins and the Staffords and things like that. So they had done that in the past. But you got to pay them, and that's the way it is. So that's why it really stings when they don't get home. Lions Packers, Woodward Sports has you covered on the pregame show, brought to you by Jose Cuervo. One final ride down there at the Tin Roof in Detroit. Braylon Edwards, Ryan Armani, Maz, and Jade from WRIF will be down there at the Tin Roof downtown, broadcasting live from 11 to 1.
Inside?
Yeah, they're absolutely inside. You can win front row tickets at our pregame show. Follow us on Twitter for a chance to win. Lions postgame, they will run it back at the Brass Rail. My guy Stick and Anson, Stick's been doing it all year long, man. Just a great job by Stick and Anson this year. They start broadcasting at the 2-minute warning of every game. And they'll get all the crowd reactions, crowd interactions. They got DJs, drinks, a Woodward Sports VIP section. They got food. They got the whole 9 yards. So as you're walking out of Ford Field for the final time this season, pull up on the Brass Rail, Stick and Anson. That's brought to you by Woodward Sports and Jim Beam. We've had you covered all season long. One final time, Detroit Lions whole game day experience brought to you by Woodward Sports.
Okay, you thirsty little spin goblins. I want you to pedal into the next dimension. Spin it! Spin! Spin! Uh-oh! Carmen's falling behind. Let's give her the hiss of shame. Spin! Spin! Spin till you bleed!
Don't ride the bike of shame. Come to Planet Fitness and find your own lane with tons of equipment, free fitness training, and no hissing. Join today for just $10 a month.
Opinions are like ear holes, and we're putting ours in yours.
Well, that's the winning joint.
It's Woodward Sports.
Back at it, Big D Energy, Woodward Sports Network, Neil Rule, Terry Foster. We got Sam in the sound booth. We got Sawyer in the production booth. Happy to have y'all along for the ride. Dave Swaniger, you can't cut Okuda without a huge dead money cap hit. Exactly. Like over $10 million this year, and I think right around $6 million next year. That's why next year's, you need to cut it for a lot of dudes. Trey Flowers, Okuda certainly will fit that bill. We'll see where we're at with Goff. It's big. You're not going to be picking this high again next year. I'm not saying you're not going to be picking high.
What's the thing I don't get? It's a big cap hit, but if you know you're going to blow, what's it matter? Just get it out the way.
Get it out of the way. And
right.
They know that. I think deep down they know that. That's not something they can publicize and say, hey, we got 4 dudes in mind that we're going to hit the scissors to and take care of it. But let's get you caught up. Let's go around the NFL. And, there is certainly, the thing that stuck out to me, the thing that stuck out to Terry. I'm going to make fun of Sawyer in a minute. But Antonio Brown's the overriding story as to what happened. The dude got cut mid-game. Just took off his shoulder pads and pieced out in what may have been the most legendary way to ever quit a job ever, Terry.
Now, that brother cut himself. We look at the NFL as it's a privilege. You get paid millions of dollars to play a kid's game. Yes, it's very violent, but the fact that he quit during the game, took his stuff off and threw everything into the crowd. First of all, I didn't know he was left-handed. He threw it with his left hand, if you notice that. But it's just bizarre. And, there's 2 ways to take this. One, Antonio Brown was a bad guy. How could he do that? And especially Tom Brady came to bat for him. Or this dude's got mental health issues. Because I know he's done bad things in the past, but when you actually see it, when you see the meltdown, when you see his face, when you see that he's in like a different world, part of me felt sorry for him. And instead of saying, you know what, he's no longer part of the team, I think Bruce Arians should allow him back on that plane and said, we're going to get you some help. Because that's what the NFL does not do. That's what pro sports doesn't do. If you're performing and you're doing what I tell you to do, I love you. But if you step outside the box and you're showing some signs there's something wrong, the hell with you. Yeah. So I think Bruce Arians should have said, okay, we got a problem here. Get on the plane. We're going to get you some help. You're not going to play for us anymore, but there's obviously something wrong here. And as an organization, we need to do something about this instead of just saying, get the hell out of here.
Well, some of the talk, too, was about that Antonio Brown didn't practice last week because he had ankle issues and that he didn't want to go back into the game because his ankle was hurting, and Arians told him, you're going back in or we're going to get rid of you or get out of here or stuff like that. There's that angle that's been talked about. The other angle is he's been coming up close to some incentives and maybe some snaps are being taken away, which doesn't fit, I guess, the story of Arians telling him to go back into the game and he wouldn't go. So I don't know how all that plays out. And I know people have talked about the CTE thing and all that kind of stuff. And that's not for me to decide. Maybe it was a situation where he didn't get along with his boss, Terry, and he's made close to $100 million in the game of football, and he was just in a position that none of us have ever been in our lives, right, where he can just say, you know what? I'm done working for these people.
How many times have we wanted to tell our boss, take this job and shove it?
To do what Antonio Brown did,
but
in that fashion.
You can't do it because I need that next paycheck.
Right.
I'm taking care of my family. I don't want to be on welfare. I need that money. And, it reminds me of a story with Terry Mills. Terry Mills was mad at Doug Collins. And Terry Mills squared up on his coach. Doug Collins was the coach of the Pistons. And Terry Mills said to Doug Collins, the only reason I'm not going to kick your ass now is because of a paycheck. So money forces us to do certain things.
Right.
Money forces us to, okay, the boss pissed me off, but you know what? I'm just going to take it and move on to the next day. Antonio Brown probably said, I got enough money. I'm pissed off. I'm out of here. I don't
Even
care what
if
he
it
does
is
with me.
mid-game, yeah. And I don't care what happens. He's in that
Right.
kind of position where he can say, hey, I don't care what this scenario is. And I get that. Like, I understand it if that is the case. And there's a lot of discussion, too, about, why couldn't Tom Brady keep him in line? I heard from some folks where he didn't want to come back at all after he felt kind of, how he got suspended for the fake vaccination card and all that kind of stuff. He was done. He didn't want to come back at all. And Tom Brady kind of talked him back into coming back, and that's why he was there. So he may have been 1 foot out the door even before.
Right. And
all
Tom
this
Brady's
stuff
not
happened.
his father. Tom Brady's got to worry about Tom Brady. He's got to worry about that huddle during the game. He can't worry about Antonio Brown all the time.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely. Let me tell you one guy, though, you were talking NFL, one guy who should worry. That's that man over there, Sawyer. Carson Wentz was awful yesterday, and you can't – if you're a team that's going to go to the playoffs and you fancy yourself as winning playoff games or maybe competing for a Super Bowl, you can't play like that, man. Can you draw your line now? You're the resident Colts fan here. He was awful. That's an awful loss. What is he? Is he a good quarterback? Is he not a good quarterback? What is he?
I don't. I viewed him this year as a bridge quarterback for
So he's your
finding
Jared
somebody.
Goff.
Yeah, but I mean, he's also like a Matthew Stafford, just the up and down play all the time. Granted, Matthew Stafford's probably a little more talented, a little more tougher, because it seems like Wentz is made out of glass and paper. But I mean, I don't see him lasting more than 2 or 3 years here if we don't find a replacement. But
Well, they're going to
it's
make
tough.
the playoffs, right? Because if they win, they're in, and they're playing Jacksonville.
Yep.
So they're going to make the play. Are they going to win a playoff game?
I mean, if he can keep it together, yeah, we have a chance. I say, like, when
He
Wentz
sounds like
is
a
on,
Lions fan, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
when Wentz is on, he's good, but
You all
I
over
mean,
the place.
he's hit or miss. Yeah, it's tough.
What is Carson Wentz, Terry?
Wishy-washy.
That's a good way of saying it.
Carson, I don't know. He was a guy that came in with a reputation. I know he came from North Dakota, where the hell he was from, but he's good. And I think Philadelphia wanted to prove to the world that they had this diamond in the rough. And then once they got him there, it was like, okay, some games he looks good, but this is not what we want. This is not good enough for us to win. So they had to palm him off on somebody else.
Terry, what was a big storyline that stood out to you in the NFL?
Mine was Matthew Stafford, and I'll tell you why. Because the performance that he had, I was thinking of you and your little stupid, both things can be true. Because in one game, Stafford showed why he's awful, but he also showed why he's wonderful. He has 3 turnovers, and he looks like he's impatient. I think Matthew Stafford feels, I got to be the show here rather than fitting in with what the Los Angeles Rams are doing. Because when I look at that Ram team, he's not the only scatterbrain on that team. This team is scatterbrained. They're talented, but they do stupid things. They have too many penalties, mental breakdowns, drop passes and stuff. And so he's fitting in there. So I think Matthew Stafford feels, I got to create something rather than playing within the scheme of the offense.
The scheme of the offense took him down the field in the fourth on that last possession.
But
and OBJ saved the day.
This is what he does. I don't want to be facing Matthew Stafford with 2.5 minutes left in the game, and he's down a score. I know he's going to guide the team right down the field and score a touchdown. I know that's going to happen. That's why I don't want to put him in that position. So yesterday he showed why he's great, and he shows why a lot of people don't want him on his team.
For me, real quickly, before we get to story time with Uncle, he becomes Uncle Terry Foster when it's story time. For me, the story is Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. They won that division, guys. Like, they won the division, which is incredible to me. And that just goes to show you, too, Joe Burrow next year will make $8.2 million. Mm-hmm. And he's throwing for over 400 yards the last couple. I mean, he's in another stratosphere. And yes, Jamar Chase is great, but the Bengals went all in. They got Burrow, then they passed on Sewell, and they took Chase, and look at what it got him. It got him a division championship. That's how quickly things can change.
Yeah, Chase is a beast.
And they're all set up, man. I mean, Next year, Jamar Chase is going to make $5.5 million next year, and Joe Burrow is going to make $8 million. They are set to roll in Cincinnati, man. They are set to roll, and that's how quickly it can happen. And Joe Burrow won't, but he should be in the MVP discussion. If you want to break it down to an MVP of the dude that means the most to their team, certainly Aaron Rodgers. And I'm not, guys, calm down already. I'm not saying that he's the MVP over Aaron Rodgers or anything like that. He should be in that discussion because he's as important to his team as any of these other folks are to their team because he's playing for a division champion too. That's just my take on it.
So you're saying I wouldn't vote for him, but I'd consider it.
No, if you go by the truest definition of the most valuable player, I would say, given the totality of it, the contract, certainly the contract, his performance, what he means to his team, all that. He's as important as anybody else in football.
Top
right
5
now.
quarterback now? He's awfully damn close.
He's knocking on that door, Terry.
Yep.
He's knocking on that door, man. I mean, these numbers, this is Madden video game stuff that he's putting up there right now. When we come back, story time with Uncle T. But, before we get to that, got to let you know, Guardian Alarm gets it. Get ready, everybody. We're here. A good defense on and off the field helps you feel secure. State-of-the-art technology. You'll feel safe 24/7. Local monitoring, people. That's how Guardian Alarm rolls. They have convenient features that let you check in on your home, control lights, temperatures, detect smoke or carbon dioxide. You can do it from your phone. It's incredible. They'll even let you lock and unlock the door. So you guys know what it do. Call 1-800.
Stay out.
That is 1-800.
Stay out.
One more time. 1-800.
Stay out.
Stay out.
Guardian
Get out of the
Alarm.
house.
Trusted for over 90 years at keeping families safe. It's Guardian Alarm. One more time, guys. 1-800.
Stay out. And if you come back again, I'm going to bust your nose wide open.
I'm Kay Cunningham. Working with Hall Financial to purchase my first home was easier than I could have ever imagined. They treated me like family from start to finish. Find out for yourself at callhallfirst.com.
Make sure you download the Woodward Sports app in the App Store and the Google Play Store today. Take Woodward Sports with you wherever you go and listen live on your phone or mobile device.
20 seconds.
The pros know. Go! Listen Monday through Friday for Big D Energy Live on the Woodward Sports Network with Stanley Cup champ Darren McCarty, former Lion Joik Bell, and the silky voice of Neil Rule.
Final segment of the show, Big D Energy, Woodward Sports Network. Neil Rule, Terry Foster, and Terry, the fans have spoken. We got about 5 minutes or so. It's story time with Uncle T by the slimmest of margins, literally singular votes. The people want to hear about the time Isaiah Thomas was nearly traded.
You made the right decision, kids. All right, gather around, my chickadees. Once upon a time, the Detroit Pistons had a team called the Bad Boys, and Isaiah Thomas was the best player on the team. But in this town, we had a huge discussion. You cannot build a championship team around a 6'1" guard. That's if Isaiah Thomas was actually 6'1". He may have been 6 foot 5'11". But anyway, you can't build a championship team around a 6'1" guy. So people in this town wanted to trade Isaiah Thomas for 7'4" Ralph Sampson. And Ralph Sampson played for Virginia and a few other NBA teams. I thought he was soft. He reminded me of Bambi. And so trade Isaiah Thomas. Trade him from Ralph Sampson. Well, the funny thing is the Pistons did not trade him. And the year after this whole storm died down, the Pistons were in Sacramento, and they were practicing, and then we saw this guy running up and down the court, and what he was doing is he was trying to prove that he still belonged in the NBA. That guy was Ralph Sampson. Ralph Sampson was basically out of the league. He was crisscrossing across the country for tryouts to get on the team. And so sometimes the best trades made are those that are not traded. Imagine if Ralph Sampson had come to town. His knees were creaky. Plus, he wasn't a good player anyway.
Right.
He was 7'4". Imagine if you had made that trade, there would be no bad boys, there'd be no championships. There'd just be a team that won 45, 50 games, and the 2004 Pistons would be the greatest Pistons team of all time.
Or maybe the 2004 Pistons don't happen because maybe they don't draft Joe Dumars. Maybe like that, that lineage
possibly
never happens.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? I mean,
So
think
there's
about
no
it that
championships if you make that trade, possibly.
And it is incredible. And think about on the other side of the coin. After this was a possibility, was this story. I started thinking about it. Can you imagine if the Rockets had Akeem Olajuwon and Isaiah Thomas?
Oh yeah, that'd be pretty mean. Instead of the Twin Towers.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, that just goes to show you too how thin the line is, Terry.
Mm-hmm.
How close was that to happening for real?
I don't think it was very close, but
there were discussions.
There were discussions. I know Jack McCloskey really loved Isaiah, but the thing that used to piss off Isaiah is Jack McCloskey was always drafting point guards in the draft, or at least in Isaiah Thomas's mind. And every time he did that, that would piss off Isaiah. Says, "I'm still good. I'm still winning championships. Why are you doing this?" But green is always, the grass is always greener on the other side. So, but I don't think it was close to happening. But let's just say that there was some midnight phone calls made. And
was Isaiah Thomas the biggest competitor you ever covered?
I would say yes, because my belief is this, that the Pistons weren't serious about winning a championship until they got Isaiah Thomas. I think the Pistons mentality is, let's win our 50 games, let's go as deep in the playoffs as we can. And but Isaiah Thomas said, no, that's not good enough. We're going to compete for championships. I'm going to suggest players that we should bring in. I'm going to foster this attitude here. I'm going to change the culture of this franchise. So, yes, he is the biggest competitor that I ever covered. And I would say in the NBA, he was probably the second biggest competitor after Michael Jordan.
Right.
I think Jordan was just off the chain. Yeah, he was talented, but he was crazy. He was fanatical.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you guys know my stance on it. Isaiah gets sold short throughout the annals of NBA history. He is on that shelf to me. He is on the Larry Bird shelf, the Magic Johnson shelf, the Michael Jordan shelf. He is on that shelf to me because, again, you go back for it. I would say pound for pound, one of the best players to ever play in the NBA. Pound for
question.
pound.
I tell you, we go back to these old debates. Isaiah or Allen Iverson. I think you pick Isaiah every day. Yes,
10 out of 10.
Yeah, Iverson was quicker. I will give him that. But Iverson didn't play the type of game that was championship basketball. It was all about the I. Look at me. I'm the guy here. And I see you open for a layup, but I'm going to take that jumper anyway, a contested jumper. So Isaiah Thomas had to learn how to make teammates better, but he was willing to do that because he knew that was what he had to do to bring a championship to Detroit.
Did you ever ask Isaiah about that? And I know we're getting right to the
About
end here.
Iverson?
No, about the fact that he's overlooked in NBA lore.
Yeah, and that bugs him. And he kind of understands. He believes the reason he's overlooked is because
the Dream Team Jordan thing?
No. He wasn't supposed to happen. We were supposed to have this glorious moment in NBA history with Larry Bird against Magic Johnson, and then the next thing was supposed to be the Michael Jordan era.
And here's this little guy in Detroit.
And the little guy screwed it all up.
That's why
with
I love
an attitude.
Man. Yeah, I love Isaiah. I got to get him on the show. I haven't had the chance to talk to him because I want a real talk with him about that stuff. Like why does he feel that happened that way when pound for pound, one of the greatest players in the NBA. And I'll fight somebody that says something different.
Right. He also believes that the media in Detroit wasn't as powerful as the media in Boston and New York and Chicago, so we weren't able to push that narrative as strongly as they could in other cities.
All right, for Terry Foster for Sawyer and Sam as well. My name is Neil Rule. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching Big D Energy right here on the Woodward Sports Network. We'll see you tomorrow. Well, see you later.
Gang, gang.